So we're going to start with dub reggae. This is actually, as we all know, reggae is from the island of Jamaica. And it's a music that's linked with Rastafarian culture, a mystical religious cult who prophesies a back to Africa philosophy and who consider the long dead Ethiopian emperor Haile Selassie a god, and who smoke lots of marijuana as they seek divine inspiration. And actually, in addition to all of this, they make some pretty sensational music. Reggae music started to take form in the late 60s. It came out of the sound system culture. There was actually no radio play in Jamaica for Rastafarian music. So literally they took it to the street in trucks like this, and they blasted this stuff all over Kingston and all the towns in Jamaica. And it was loud and deep, and the bass was heavy. And one reason that reggae had such deep bass is because, as we all know from our audio engineering, bass actually travels farther. So the way to link, get people to come to your sound system where you were selling beer, and that's how you were making money, by basically selling booze. The way to get them there was to have the heaviest sound and the loudest bass speakers. So you can see this is like 1972 in Jamaica, and it's I would have that at home. It looks pretty cool. After a while in these sound systems, of course, at first they were just like, it was a DJ situation. They were playing records that already existed. But then the sound system started to get very competitive, so they needed exclusive material. So they were trying to figure out, like how the hell do we get exclusive material? So the first thing they did is they just dropped the vocals out of the mix. So these was what was called versions, which was basically just instrumental versions of the song. And then some of these sound system guys, like we see here, they started to essentially what we would call now rap over this. They call it toasting in Jamaica, but this is what they did. And they liked the fact that it was instrumental because it gave them room. They were telling people to come, from down the street and to buy the beer and everything like that. Eventually, it took a different turn, and this is when dub came in. They did something different. They started to actually do what we now would refer to as a remix, but I'll talk about that later. It's not really a remix as we know it, but they started to manipulate these existing tracks, heavily involved with adding effects to things, doing drop-ins and drop-outs, and they're trying to create a new dimension of sound where things come and go in some sort of liquid space. I think again the marijuana probably helped the appreciation of all of this. This guy here is King Tubby. His real name is Osborne Broderick, and he's really one of the great innovators of dub music, and I'm just going to play something by him. Again, this music comes from the early 70s, and so much of the music we make, we're always thinking about building things up, adding this on top of that, layering. It's actually a mode of music that really, I think, stretches back to classical music. This is the idea that the symphony has all of these different layers, and they're all operating in some sort of synchronicity. We often start quiet and we end loud in our compositions, but dub music turns that all completely around. Dub is the opposite of that approach. A dub song starts louder, you usually have the intro with the drums, and then dub gets quieter and quieter. Dub is all about cutting things out. It cannot merely be called a remix, it's almost a complete philosophy of music. What matters in dub is not so much what is added, but rather what is taken away. And this is very, very fundamental to it. It is a music of subtraction, not merely of the vocal, but of anything in the mix. Less is actually more. Nothing is sacred in dub but the creation of a floating, fluid space where things come and go almost at random. The effect is something both soothing and even a little bit disorienting. Dub is also a deconstruction of the normal musical timeline. The song actually disintegrates as it moves along. You know, you don't actually get more stuff, you tend to get less stuff. I mean, it tends to be, in a way, almost like falling apart. The dropouts in dub are actually the big moments, not the build-ups. Rock music, it's about building things up. Dub music, it's about dropping things out. That's actually where the drama comes from, not anywhere else. The development of the dynamic of a dub song is not in the development of the melody. It is about the creation of new events where the things that you're used to hearing in songs, like the vocal or the guitar, are either muted, faded, or manipulated beyond recognition. It is also arguably the first music where the performers who made the original tracks, the bass players, the drummers, the guitar players, disappear completely in the background. And the producer, the mixer, the dub master comes to the front. It's a producer's music. As you can see here, this cover here is from a late 70s dub record by an English guy called Blackbeard. The producer is there like he's driving the spaceship. He's the guy in charge. You don't see the band. There's no picture of a band. You don't need a band when you have the dub master. It's a complete different thing. I think I've got another one here. Yeah, this is a guy named Prince Jammy. He's behind his mixing board. I mean, you know, there was never a picture of a producer on the cover of an album, you know, behind a mixing board until dub music came out. This is also King Tubby in his studio, again. Let me just read you something really quick about King Tubby. By 1972, Tubby had his dub technique down to a science. First, he would allow the song's melody to be introduced before promptly fading out the music and thus leaving the singers to sing the opening bars a cappella. Then he would invert the mix and abruptly drop out the vocals to chill out while leaving the music to float by instrumentally for a section. It goes on to say that he had an unerring drive for perfection. W would often cut up to 12 different mixes of the same song before finally deciding on the best take. That doesn't sound very impressive to us in the digital age, 12 mixes, but when you're working on analog tape and you're actually mixing in real time, that's actually a lot of work. Because you have to plan this stuff out from the beginning to the end. I mean, this is not a cut and paste situation that we're playing here. I mean, it's equally complex to any electronic music that we hear now, and the resources are extremely, extremely limited. He was also electronic engineer. That's his mixing board, by the way. You know, that says a lot about Tubby right there. I'll play another song, or a bit of a song. This one's called Isolation Dub. There's no sessions to link the BPMs of these delays. This is all done through experimentation. Again, really limited resources. Mixing's done in real time. You had to have a vision. You had to have a plan. You had to have nerves of steel. If you made a mistake, you had to go back and do it again. It was really that simple, you know. And I think there's a lot to be learned from that. The amazing thing is, you know, he didn't do it with an SSL console or a digital workstation or a controller. He did it with what we're looking at right here. That and one spring reverb, just like you have in your guitar amp, and a tape delay. That's it. Let's quickly look at one more of the dub pioneers, and then I'll tell you why I think we're talking about dub at all. This is Lee Scratch Perry, at his recording console in the Black Ark Studios, which was in his backyard in Kingston, Jamaica. There's Lee Scratch Perry. He's a completely insane guy, as you can see. And that's his studio. He had all kinds of strange stuff all over the walls. He was completely, well, he's basically nuts. I mean, it's one of the things that comes right down to it. There's my book out there. I'll read you something about him. With money accrued from a successful run of productions, Perry sought to hole up even further in his own warped imagination. Inspired by a vivid dream he had while napping in front of a tree in his backyard, he opened his own label and home studio called the Black Ark in 1974. Taking its name from the Ark of Covenant, Perry called the studio a power plant of righteousness. With a great deal of help from the wiring wizard King Tubby, who we just saw, the Black Ark was outfitted with the best equipment available. Okay, I'll get a load of this. 4-track Soundcraft board, a TAC 4-track recorder, a Con rhythm box like you have on these old weird organs just going choo 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 choo, an Echoplex delay unit, a Roland Space Echo, and a phaser. That was Lee Scratch Perry's entire arsenal of fun. But he also made some amazing music, as we're going to see here. This one's called Jaw Love.